Oh, welcome to Framework. We're going to talk about The Sopranos Season 3 today. I'm Al Schwartz. With me, I've got John Bernard
Yep.
and, and Chris Prentice.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
John, Chris and I did this for Season 1 and 2, and we always started with picking out who is the worst person in the Sopranos universe, which is generally a pretty competitive category that every person on the show is pretty shitty in some capacity. However, is there any question who it is in season 3?
No, it is Ralphie Soprano.
Yeah,
It's
by
gotta
by
Yeah.
leaps and bounds.
They don't really have a season antagonist to compete with him. There's no villain of season 3.
You're not
really.
going to go with Jackie.
Well, it's
Jr.,
Ralph, I would say.
Yeah.
Jackie Jr. is a major plot point of season 3, but he's not
No.
an antagonist. You're not worried about what Jackie Jr. is going to do.
Well, he's not a threat to
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah, the only person he could possibly hurt is himself.
Not an antagonist, but I think someone from this season who I would put amongst probably my least favorite characters to ever show up is Noah Tannenbaum.
Oh,
I think that guy is like kryptonite when that guy shows up on the screen, man. He just the way, like from his first scene when he meets Tony and he says, "Oh, I appreciate you letting us screen here." I mean, just from the get-go,
oh yeah.
you know, it's which
If you
I don't
ask
know-
me, Cagney was modernity
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, motherfucker, you met me 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, now I don't
I think
know.
it's
Now,
offensive to us as he's an obnoxious film dork, which is like
Right.
especially offensive to us three.
right. Well, I don't know what it says about me that I get more upset over the things he says than the things that Tony says to him. But I'm sorry. It's just I just can't stand that guy.
I would say that Noah is not coded as the bad guy in that scene. I think
No,
I
he's
think
not.
Tony is the asshole there.
Yeah, Tony's
he-
the worst guy, but he's also the funniest.
Yeah, he lacks the anti-hero charm because Noah is so like not funny. He's not a fun hang at all.
No,
even
not at all.
Tony. I was gonna say Tony at his worst is that, but that's not true. Tony at his worst is pretty despicable and brutal to be around.
We haven't got anywhere near Tony at his worst yet. That's like that.
No.
That comes later. I feel like.
Yeah. Right now, we still have like Ralph to contrast him sort of
Oh, yeah.
positively with, but he's pretty nasty in the Noah arc of things.
Oh yeah.
And I think what's good about the Noah arc though is that it shows sort of like the writers of The Sopranos have a bead on such a wide spectrum of douchebaggery.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
not like just this, Jersey sort of, kind of trashy rich type of thing.
No, they have a read on annoying people from all walks of life. It's not just limited to the life of crime. The people who write for that show can take basically any background and they will find the most annoying person from it.
Ben Kingsley. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's save that Ben Kingsley for when he appears.
Of course.
Because that's a whole thing. I think it's a little. The show to me is more hit or miss when they do the explicit like Hollywood meta satire stuff. But for as much, I think a lot of the focus when the show was on was Italian groups saying this makes us look so bad, and they're not wrong. It makes them look absolutely horrible if you're taking these as representatives of the Italian people. But man, there's no group that comes out of The Sopranos like looking good.
No, it's basically, I don't care what background you have, whether you're a middle class, just regular person who happens to have a huge gambling addiction, or whether it doesn't matter. Everybody's bad. The police are bad, the politicians are bad, the gangsters are bad, the housewives are bad. It's pretty much a never ending stream of bad.
And in season 3 you get more AJ storylines, and they got such a bead on shitty teenagers and how the specific ways that they're shitty.
AJ is so funny. AJ is I forgot, he is hilarious, especially younger AJ. still in high school, AJ is so goddamn funny in this show. I did not remember this. I just remember him being annoying. No, it's a hilarious performance. And yes, the writing for him is on point. Getting his mom a Matrix DVD for his birthday.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then, I would have wrapped it, but, the environment.
It's a perfect performance.
That's it. They got such a good beat on how to make him funny without him trying to be funny. He's not funny because he's smart. He's funny because he's stupid and obnoxious. But
he's little Carmine in training.
Yeah, his stupidity is so perfectly calibrated to just reflect poorly on Tony and drive him up the wall.
It is amazing. It is amazing how well these kids are written. I mean, I'm really struck by this watching it again. There's a lot of Meadow in this season too.
Oh yeah,
and they are so well written as the children of Tony and Carmela. It is like a 1-to-1. You can see every vice they have, every self delusion and narcissistic kind of thing comes directly from their folks. It's amazing. It's one of the best things in the show, and in revisiting, I'm discovering.
Well, they did a great job, this season, and then going forward with Meadow, having her constantly contrast herself. She wants to be the champion of the people, and she's wants to rebel against everything her father stands for. But as soon as there's any kind of material possession that she doesn't get, then she's basically a huge crybaby. So I mean that contrast for her from in this season and all the seasons is really on point for that type of character.
It's teenage Carmela stuff. It's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even hold that against her, as a character, because
no,
I think she's trying to stretch out from it for most of the series.
Yeah,
and it's how could she not be that way given how she was raised? Have some of that bratty princessness to her, but the worst case scenario is she could be like AJ, and she's better than that.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. She's not Carmine Jr.
Well, she's kind of Carmela's kid, and AJ is kind of Tony's kid, kind of. I mean, there's some overlap, of course, but that's sort of the direct comparison that I see watching it. I mean, Tony, obviously.
Yeah, but it's not totally neat and schematic that way. The way that a badly written show would.
Well, it's certainly not badly written. Yeah,
I guess in lesser hands, AJ having a panic attack on the football field would be too neat and bold of a line to draw between father and son there. But
they do some direct line drawings, like 1-to-1 comparison stuff in here. Gloria Trillo has some of that too in season 3, and I just think it's so well handled and adept and performed at such a high level that I buy all of it. And it seems like the kind of reverberations you see in life rather than in a show.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, one of the strengths of the show is that even when they're on the nose, it doesn't matter. It's still just as good. So it's like a lot of shows, if they're too on the nose, it's just kind of you shake your head, but not with this one.
And I think something that helps that is that there is, this season particularly, I mean, I guess this is kind of going forth, but more this season than any other, it feels like there is not a major season arc that is taking place. There's no major antagonist, unless it's Ralphie, who ends up not being the antagonist of the season.
Yeah.
He kind of positioned that way at first, and you're like, oh, he's going to be this season's Richie Aprile. He is not. He's part of the team by the end. And
yeah, I mean, this is more of a hangout season. It's more just kind of getting to know everybody. They're kind of planting seeds a little bit for stuff that comes on later in season 4. But yeah, it's not like, oh, this is the big villain that's got to be taken down. And I mean, it's like that. I remember when this season was going on.
The Jackie Jr. arc goes through most of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that is the season's narrative spine, right. I guess you'd say.
Well, I remember when this season was actually happening, because by this point the show was just kind of a huge thing that everybody was talking about, and when it got to the last episode of the season, it was everybody talking about, oh, who's gonna get whacked, who's gonna get killed, blah blah blah, and then when it just turned out to be Jackie Jr., it was like, okay, fine. I mean, there wasn't really a big oh my god, this is horrendous. It was just kind of a, okay, he's gone, who's next?
I can see how that was disappointing in the moment, and I probably felt that way too. I think I caught up with this on DVD. So I think the next one was the first one I watched live, but I think I probably felt a little bit of that anticlimax there. That what do you mean Ralph's still around? Type of thing.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, Ralph's still around.
yeah, I was too.
But now I look at like the in the finale, just the sort of back and forth of Tony and Ralph kind of just
Oh,
nudging the ball back and forth with each other of
so good.
who's going to be
Oh yeah,
responsible for making the call to kill Jackie Jr. as like so just such high comedy. I
yeah.
mean, it's subtle and it's like perverse because there's a kid's life at stake here, but just the dueling shirking of responsibilities in those scenes is hysterical to me now.
They're back and forth during the whole season. I mean, when they have the obviously the unpleasantness that took place in university, and it gets to who's gonna apologize to who, and who's gonna be the bigger person. It's I mean, all of that is probably my favorite stuff from this season.
That I love that episode. That's them going back and forth with Johnny
Yeah,
Sack as the mediator, and that too. It's something we talked about in earlier episodes that they're like Sopranos does these jokes where in a more a sitcom setting it would be like smash cut to this, but they actually just separate them out by 10 minutes in like 3 or 4 scenes, but
yeah.
they're still really funny to look back on. And that whole thing where like Johnny Sack's going to both of them, I'm like, what if you made Ralphie a captain? And he's like, no way, over my dead body. And he goes to Ralph and's like, would you accept being made a captain? And he's like, no, at this point, not even enough. And then he goes and goes back to Ralph a few scenes later and says, like, I think captain's in the works. And Ralph's like, oh my god, that's such good news, thank God.
Well, it's interesting because then you have Johnny trying to be the peacemaker between those two in
Mhm.
season three, and then it all flips in season four, and it's Tony trying to be the peacemaker between Ralph and John. So that's another thing between the three and four that I always liked is how they kind of switch the whole thing on its heels.
Yeah, but we're not to season 4 yet,
No, I know.
and so we'll talk a lot more about Johnny Sack, I think, going forward. That he's getting good here. He's Vincent
Hmm.
Curatola, he's heating up in NBA Jam
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
in this season, but he's not a huge presence. I want to go back to something you know you were saying that this season lacks sort of a strong narrative spine to it, which I guess is true, but it also strikes me as being about as the show like getting as serialized as it ever was, where it always kind of adopted more of an interconnected short story type of format. Um, but in this one, I mean, I looked back on this one, season 3, and like outside of Pine Barrens, um, I didn't have a lot of like standout like, oh, that episode is so good as a standalone. I guess there's the season premiere. It stands out kind of structurally in how it sort of adopts the perspective of the FBI instead of the
Yeah.
gangsters.
So what do you
Um,
guys think of that one?
It's
I like that one.
it might be my least favorite episode of The Sopranos.
Yeah, I see. A lot of people have that reaction to it. I don't know what it is. I kind of feel like it's because of the music. I think people found I think that it kind of makes.
I
I
don't
like
like
the
the music.
episode. I like it. I think it's interesting to get the FBI's perspective and how they view what's going on, and so that on that level, I enjoyed it. But I think the whole kind of merging of the Peter Gunn theme with Every Breath You Take, it gets a little ham fisted in that opening episode.
It is such a stylistic departure, and
Yeah.
it's about something that I don't know. Maybe this is a rewatch thing as well that I know amounts to absolutely nothing, and very soon. Like okay, this is an episode about them installing a lamp in the basement to
Yeah, well,
record, and it amounts to absolutely nothing. 4 episodes
the
later.
Sopranos always trafficked an anticlimax to a degree like that, but that one it also strikes out to me that like there's a whole thing in that episode only about like uh, Adriana's tennis instructor hitting on
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, uh
her,
huh.
and that a lot of times Sopranos would like throw out little bits and not really follow them up. But that one honestly felt like, oh, they were kicking around a storyline there that they just decided to scuttle. Um,
Yes.
And I can't say put my finger on exactly why that feels that way, and other like sort of glancing bits of characterization other episodes don't. But it felt like there's something
She's sort of
being set
like
up there.
there's lesbian flirtation stuff going on there. That
Yeah.
seems like it's a character something. It seems like it means something. No, it means nothing. It means nothing at all. And it's setting up like some sort of jealousy between Adriana and Carmela. It's
Also amounts to nothing there. Yeah.
amounts to nothing. Yeah. Uh huh.
Yeah. But I mean, I think again that it's all just from the FBI's perspective. So, you know,
Mm.
what we're seeing is, oh, this could be something more, but it's almost everything in that episode turns out to be nothing. So it's just that's just kind of the
Yep.
theme of the whole episode is, you know, everything the FBI is seeing, it just ends up being, it amounts to nothing.
I mean, I feel like if the Meadow had taken the lamp to college at the end of that episode, then at least
That,
that point could have been made within the episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, none of this meant anything. We've wasted our time. Sopranos. Then that would be something. And as it is, it's just sort of elliptical. And then you're like, a month later,
It literally
if you're
does end with
watching it as
Tony
it
on
is.
an elliptical machine. Which I actually like that final scene as this sort of the FBI agents listening to the most banal, domestic conversation they could possibly be having there. But I think I agree with you that you're right. Closing that out in that episode would have been a bit more
Yeah, it would have been
satisfying,
a
even in how it's
much
intentionally unsatisfying.
it would have been a much better button on the whole thing. It's like I feel like I hear that as one of the ones that kind of gets listed among the worst episodes. I don't think it's that bad, but
It's not that bad.
the
The
music
bar
gets
is high.
tiring. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. There aren't too many worst episodes of The Sopranos.
The thing that I was complaining about, though, even that the tennis instructor thing does stand out as a perfect example of two more groups come off pretty bad in Sopranos. Tennis instructors, lesbians, in a very short amount of time. This person who could be a very sympathetic figure who's not involved in any of the crime stuff or whatever, but this in such quick glancing strokes, her like utter obnoxiousness of how she is like so casually mean to Carmela while she's pouring all her flirtations onto Adriana is pretty amusing, I think.
It is a very cynical show, isn't it? Like, it's. I mean, I guess that's part of its rep, but like watching it again, it is striking. This is the first time I've watched this since it aired. Honestly, like I
Oh
had
wow.
not done a rewatch of Sopranos, and we're rewatching it now. I'm well, honestly, I like it more. I think, and I liked it plenty back then, but I'm really taken by how much knowing who gets whacked helps. Knowing
Yeah.
what
It,
it's building towards. What
it,
what I'm not on edge waiting for Ralph to get killed this season, so I'm paying more
Mhm.
attention to what Ralph's actually doing.
yeah,
And what Tony's doing with him.
it's a rare
Yeah.
show where knowing what's going to happen almost enriches it. You know, a lot of shows, once the big surprises and everything's been revealed, like I don't know if anyone's really watching 24 all over again. Like that's not really going to happen. But
Right.
whereas with this show, yeah, hey, even when you know everything that's going to happen, who's getting clipped, it just it seems better. It's very very unique in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Yeah,
really focus on the story they're going to end up telling, which is already there. It turns out, it always was there.
and it's very strong stuff always. But I will step up a little bit for just the pure plottiness of it and just the charge of excitement that brought to the first time viewing is something that I recall uh, very fondly, and that because this show was unpredictable in a way that like no other show really is. It was, but that it was so willing to flout convention and also utterly ruthless
Oh
about
yeah.
how it treats its characters. We could be pretty sure that Tony was going to make it through, but nobody else was really that safe. And I mean, there is some nail biting tense stuff throughout this series. That goes away on the rewatch, but and there's so much other stuff that you can dig into, just the subtleties of the characterizations and the humor, and again, like those punchlines spread across 15 minutes of screen time. That stuff
Well,
that's easier to appreciate on rewatches.
Yeah, well, I feel like the person that constantly, especially in this season, and then even the next one, that everyone always kept saying was going to get killed was Paulie, and so I think for him to, I almost feel like the writers just said, "God, we're so sick of everyone thinking he's going to get killed. We're going to keep him till the very end," and so I'm glad they did.
I mean,
Well,
he always seemed expendable,
Yeah,
but
it's like
but he wasn't, as it turns. I think he was necessary. I think Paulie was a really important character for the makeup of the show. I think you need him there, being the most ridiculous dude in the crew. Like,
oh, yeah, enormous value added.
yeah, like Silvio has to take up that mantle if he goes, and Silvio's doing a whole different thing. Not really.
Oh, I love Silvio.
He's great. Yeah.
I, he's yeah.
so
Well, this is not a
I
big Silvio season, though.
no,
No.
but I will say I'm always kind of surprised with Silvio because he's so likable that when he does something awful, it almost double stings. Like the way that he treats, when we think of university, we think of, okay, Ralph
Mhm.
beats Tracy to death, but the way that Silvio's treating her, it's like, man, I don't like seeing Silvio like that. It's
Yeah,
obviously not as bad as Ralph, but it's still like, damn, Silvio, don't do that.
it does. That hurts my feelings a little bit too. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
Everyone, like you get that. Okay, that's the world, I guess. But Jesus fucking Christ, oof, that's rough. That episode is weird. Everyone remembers the Ralphie story. You forget that half that episode is about Meadows' unpleasant roommate at college.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. What was her
yeah.
name?
I mean, Caitlin, I think
Yes, I think
she
that's
is
right. Yes.
another just piece of really good unpleasant characterization. You know,
Yep.
but this goes to something that I was saying kind of earlier that in my mind, a lot of these episodes, especially in the middle of the season, run together, and there's a lot of them where I couldn't tell you, you know, what exactly happens in the Telltale Musadel versus I don't know. What
Yeah,
else is there? That he is risen, whatever.
I know He Is Risen just has the kooky guy that Janice brings to Thanksgiving. He's the high point of that episode. The narcoleptic gentleman.
I think that one's actually the one that I was talking about earlier, where Johnny Sack is running back and forth trying to save
Yeah,
Ralph's life.
that's a very good episode. Actually, that one's great.
It's good. Well, so
Um,
these ones that run together in my head, like it's not. It doesn't really speak to them being bad episodes. They're all very solid. It speaks to consistency more than anything. I think there's.
well,
Uh,
they're a little less episodic though. I mean, like the Gloria Trillo, like I don't know, was it 4 or
yeah,
5 episodes? That all kind of feels like one thing. Obviously, it's more than one episode story, but it's those get a little tough to differentiate which one is which.
yeah, 'cause that's what I was talking about the serialization earlier. That there was, the sort of Meadow College arc, the AJ high school troubles arc, the Ralphie causing trouble before he becomes a captain, and then Jackie Jr. causing trouble after he becomes one. Like all that stuff is sort of spread out across 3 or 4 episodes instead of being as self-contained as something like Pine Barrens is, for example. The other ones that stand out, I think, are the ones that stand out just for being the most brutally violent of the series, where
Of
you
course.
have Employee of the Month and University airing like 3 weeks apart.
Hmm.
Uh, and those are some of the most like viscerally upsetting things to watch that the series ever did, and the series can be quite upsetting at times.
Employee of the Month is my episode that I wanted to talk about here. I really like it. It's one of the big ones. It's certainly
Oh
the
yeah,
biggest Melfi episode. Obviously, it goes hard. It is, as you say,
real hard.
surprisingly violent and upsetting, and it's so fast. Like Melfi is a character that has always been outside this world. The closest you get is like when like Tony gets really mad and gets in her face. And
Yeah.
he seems threatening, and those are
Well,
like
she had
kind
to
of
go into hiding at
scary.
the end of the first
Yeah.
season. Yeah,
Yes, but nothing comes of that. Like no one is actually looking for her, or even really
Right.
knows who she is. I think that's kind of just an abundance of caution. Which
yeah,
This
is,
is.
that's why
I
the
mean,
thing that happens
mhm,
between seasons. It's
yeah,
not like a focus of an extended arc.
mhm.
this is the first
And
time anything truly horrific happens to her. I mean, I know a patient of hers, she says, killed themselves when she was basically in hiding. But I mean, this is where they really kind of say, okay, we've had this character for a couple seasons, basically been Tony's sounding board. Now we're really gonna give this character, we're gonna run them through the gauntlet. And man, is Lorraine Bracco's just so good. I mean, it's just a crazy storyline, and
Hmm.
horrible to see. But boy, I mean, she really grounds it and makes it something that, like, you know, it's tough to watch.
Yeah, I mean, for context, I think if you're listening to this, you're aware this is the episode where Dr. Melfi gets raped in the parking lot, um, in between sessions, or because she stays late one night, and it is unrelated to the mob. It has nothing to do with Tony's life. It is just a random act of violence from a street guy, a guy who doesn't know her, and the entire drama of this is resolved surprisingly in one episode. I feel like
Yeah,
this is something that could go
I mean,
on. I mean, it informs a character obviously going forward, but it wouldn't have shocked me if that happened and then like 4 weeks later she finds out who the guy is and sees the employee of the month sign, and
Well,
they resolve it all so fast.
it's like at the time, I remember people often saying, like, oh, when are they going to resolve that? When are they going to resolve that? When is Tony
Yeah.
going to go after that guy? And it's like, did they not see how it ended? I mean, it was resolved, maybe not to your
Yep.
satisfaction, but they did resolve that plot line.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fantastic.
yeah, and that stands out as one of the vanishingly few times in the whole series when a character passes a moral test.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know that, and it. I mean, they test Melfi's conviction there so brutally, and it. I mean, I'm almost struggling to think of another example. I mean, I guess there's a bit in season one where Tony does not kill the soccer coach.
Right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is sort of that. Artie gets through to him about how this is not for the girl that the coach hurt. This is to make us feel better. Um,
Hmm.
but I really
Yeah,
can't think of
I'm not.
another
I'm,
example off the top of my head.
I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that as well. Watch the rest
Yeah,
of it.
it's not really a show that lends itself to passing moral tests. It's just that's almost the exact opposite of what everybody's into on the show. But yeah, this is really probably the biggest example of when someone definitely could have gone for blood, could have easily had their thirst of revenge quenched, and just said no.
I had a thought
Yeah,
watching it this time, which was it's such a memorable thing. It's such an incredible ending. When she says, "No, I have nothing to say." Um, would it have been the worst thing if she had acted on that? I mean, it would have been bad for Melfi, but like, it seems like really good TV. Honestly, if she
no,
had,
of course it wouldn't have been. I don't think we would even judge Melfi harshly for it.
no, of course we
Um,
wouldn't.
Oh yeah, and I think
I
we. I
think
mean,
that to some
we'd
extent
all.
we're aching for her to tell Tony about it.
Oh yeah, we.
Just
I was, of course. I mean, I would love to have seen a scene where Tony and Polly and Christopher take that guy and do a number on him, and
yeah, they
and
roll up on him. Yeah,
dispatch with him in some horrifying way. That would have been great. But yeah, I mean, the
and
fact.
that complicity in that thought is kind of one of the things that Sopranos was so good at.
Oh
It was
yeah.
so good at making us want something like that, and it knows what buttons to push, and that is denied while at the same time kind of saving Melfi's soul. I mean, to the point
yeah,
where
it's
it like it's kind of a settled issue after that. Honestly, that Melfi's going to be
but
okay. Like,
it's so brilliant about like pressing our buttons and twisting us around this way and being about the lower impulses of humanity that it makes the one time when a character passes that moral test and it should be an uplifting moment, it makes it like dissatisfying and frustrating for us, um, which I actually think makes a much stronger statement about the nature of morality and stuff. Is that it's not just about scoring easy points or dunking on somebody who's worse than you in whatever way. Like real morality and conviction is difficult and frustrating.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
practice.
if the show was really going to give people, what they always wanted, it would have been every week, New York and New Jersey, firing it out with rocket launchers every week. That would have been pretty much what giving the audience what they want. But this show, that was again one of its strengths was it seemed like whatever people actually wanted these characters to do, the writers were like, no, there's no way we're doing that. We're going to go in the complete opposite direction, and to the show's benefit.
It's kind of amazing it worked so well. I mean, yeah, like the version of this that is more like Breaking Bad, where it is actually like propulsive kind of action movie vibe, where it everything does come to a head, not just at the end of the season, every few episodes. Uh, that is so opposite from what
The
this is.
Boardwalk Empire version.
Sure. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's a yeah, very good comparison. But it is interesting to me that this and Breaking Bad are always kind of cited as the two major anti-hero shows, and when they went about their business completely different ways. They are, aside from having the anti-hero protagonist, they are essentially diametrically opposite shows.
Well, certainly structurally, that Breaking Bad was all about serialization,
Yeah.
and a tighter focus, where Sopranos had a much more wandering eye for its supporting cast, and its timeline was just more diffuse.
Well, and I
That it
think
wasn't all
Breaking
driving towards one like set endpoint.
Breaking Bad, I think, was very much they very much knew kind of what plot points they set up and made sure that they wanted to pay off everything, and they kind of wanted to wrap everything up in more of a neat little bow. And I'm not saying that as really a slight, because I mean I love that show too, but there wasn't the willingness to do that with Sopranos. It was based Sopranos. Their whole mantra seemed to be, okay, you want us to zig, we're gonna zag, and that's just gonna be how we run the show.
And this season in particular does kind of, I feel, set down and clarify forever what this show's going to feel like. That it does not fall into, this is the Buffy villain of this season kind of routine. They have some major villains, I guess going forward, but they not in the way where they're just going to be vanquished at the end of the season, and this will be the season about Richie Prele or whatever going after here. It's more about the focus of the minutia of life, that just happens to coexist next to the immediate violence. It really is seeing these characters just live their lives, and this season I think kind of sets that in stone for going forward, and it's going to be like that forever now.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to a different episode then. It's
All
the
right.
one
Well,
I wanted to highlight.
yeah.
One of my favorites is the second episode of the season, Prochai Lavushka.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
And I feel like
Yeah.
this one gets shortchanged a lot by fans because I think that it's most remembered for the like dodgy CGI monstrosity of plastering Nancy Marchand's head
Which is
onto a.
horrendous.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah.
And
I don't
not
understand
least
why
because
they did that, but
well, I think they were caught kind of flat-footed by her dying suddenly, and they wanted to do something there. Because I mean, originally a big thrust of the season was supposed to be about how his mom got arrested in the end of the second season for with these
the
stolen airline
tickets.
tickets that Tony had given her, and so Tony was going to have to try and patch things up with her to convince her not to testify against him. And that was supposed to be sort of the overarching plot of the season, and obviously that rug got pulled out from under him, and they had to improvise from there. And look, that scene's bad, and it's easy to make fun of. So obviously, it gets a lot of play online. That's what people remember about it. But what I think people should remember about this episode is the whole funeral,
Oh yeah.
or I guess wake sequence
Wonderful.
at Tony's house, which is just phenomenal stuff.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It is so well done. It's like I think they're really good at almost giving everybody their moment during that, and that's
Oh
just
yeah,
great writing. Is that it's I love that they kind of show it through how Artie's perspective when he kind of has the little flashback. I love that. And just there's so many little touches in that episode. It really is one of the best ones for sure.
It does.
and
It
Christopher's
does.
rambling speech.
Oh
He's
yes,
just stoned out of his mind,
yeah,
like mumbling about fingerprints. That's Michael Imperioli is so good in that scene. Just his
yeah.
delivery on. But do they know that for sure? It's so funny.
It
And just
also
the constant refrain of at least she didn't suffer. As you know, it's nobody. I mean, it's a thing that gets bandied about at funerals all the time, but especially in this case where nobody can think of anything good to say about her. So
it also underlines once again what a giant piece of shit Janice is, which I'm
oh
always
my
in
god,
Yeah.
favor of. Like I feel like Janice might be the character the show likes the least sometimes. Like I don't know if they've given her a single positive thing ever. Like I don't think there's a single good thing about Janice ever. And she's
yeah,
she hypocritical, nasty, lies to everyone and herself, manipulative, every single thing, and it all comes to a head here with the forced speech, the
Yeah.
forced what is it the remembrance there,
remembrance.
where she makes everyone get together, and it's the big set piece of the episode. Where they all have to share something, and she's talking about how she never got enough credit for being a very good visual learner, or what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's she doesn't think through at all that what anybody else could possibly have to say because she just has something she wants to talk about herself for a little bit. So that's all she does. And then I mean, it also sets
She.
up a great Carmela moment where she
yes,
gets to
Oh,
sort
for
of go
sure.
off and
For sure.
Edie Falco, I think, should have won an Emmy just for the way she downs like a little shot glass drink in that scene. She's like, oh
it's
god, knocks it back.
it's
It's
such a
great.
relief to hear Carmela finally just say whatever you've been waiting for someone to say the whole episode, the whole show up to this point. It's I
Yeah.
mean, it's one of the rare moments I think where they do pay something that let the audience enjoy something, you know. Um, and yeah, I mean, obviously, for being an episode created because I mean, a season created essentially because of somebody's death, you know. It's incredible how well this kind of ends and encapsulates the Livia character. I mean,
Yeah, one other thing I love about it is that they resist the impulse to because I'm sure everybody was sad about the actress's passing and they seemed to all like really love her, but they completely resist the impulse to let that bleed into like any reverence towards the character.
No,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
yeah,
They just they treat her or think of her exactly
mm,
as they did through the first two seasons. There's no
yeah,
there's no effort to put lipstick on a pig.
right. It's just it's great. And that's another group that comes out looking really bad throughout the run of The Sopranos. The elderly, like my god,
Oh
the,
yeah,
there
no,
is
there,
no reference for the elderly whatsoever on this show
yeah,
no
ever.
dignity ever. Yeah,
there is. They are a savage lot.
I mean,
Which,
that
but
mostly lives in Junior. I forever, never.
Largely, but it was with Livia for a while too.
Yeah.
though, if we're
Or
talking
Polly's
about
mom. Oh, that's
if
coming up.
well,
Yeah.
if we're talking about I don't know if I would say he was necessarily elderly, but if we're talking about older characters in this season, and even though it was only one episode, so the one that I want to bring up is another
I knew
two.
this was going to be yours.
Oh, yeah, because well, yeah, you know me, so you know why. I just think Burt Young is so damn good in this episode. I mean, his hacking and wheezing. I mean, that's about the most believable hacking and coughing and wheezing that you're gonna see on television. And I just loved him. Probably my favorite one shot appearance on this series is Burt Young as Bobby's father. I love it, and it's just I mean, if we're talking about brutal violence, it's got that. I mean, his kind of last scene there with Mustang Sally. Well, no, it
Mhm.
wasn't Burt Young's last scene, but just that scene in general is that's a doozy. And man, that's one that I can go on for all day about because I just Burt Young just blows me away in that episode.
Well, and another piece of characterization that I think fits what we were talking about earlier, like I love that they introduced Bobby Bacala's father, and it's not just an older version of Bobby.
No,
It is this other thing, and then when you think about it for a minute, like what, it kind of fits that his dad
yeah,
was actually like the roughest,
oh yeah,
the gangster with
Mhm.
the most notches on his belt. of anybody, and how he kind of tried to shield Bobby from that, and that so Bobby came out being, the softest of the gangsters.
He's the most lovable gangster of them all. But yeah, so I
Well,
just
I
think,
prefer Silvio, but matters of taste.
yeah, well, in terms of just the gangster who does not never cheats on his wife, and you know
Yes,
almost goes the whole way without killing anybody, almost. And in terms of just the guy that just seems like the most just the nicest of them, I think he's got that hands down.
He plays Santa.
Reluctantly,
unwillingly, yes.
reluctantly, yeah. I mean, he does. Yes.
Shyness
And
is a curse, Tony.
yeah, he actually
Oh man,
he's
the
he's
use of Big Mouth Billy Bass that stretches across episodes in this
So
season
much Big
is
Mouth
yeah,
Billy.
really
man.
something.
I wonder how what was the uptick in sales that Christmas after these aired, because my God, what great advertising.
I feel like this was after the Christmas where everybody got one. I mean, we got one in my family. I think it was the year before, and the Sopranos was sort of reflecting that.
I gotta believe that was a good year for whatever now defunct company was producing those. I don't know if it
They
was
got a second
Ronco
wind.
or Ronco or whatever it might have been. I don't know, but that was that had to have been a great Christmas for them.
Yeah, whatever subsidiary of the Shineheart Wind Company made those things did pretty well in '99.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. That's a really good episode. And again, great Burt Young performance, but in terms of the elderly coming off bad, that's also Junior comes out looking pretty shitty in that one.
Yes.
When does he not? Yeah, that is an especially shitty Junior episode, though. I was really hoping your father would die of cancer, so I wouldn't be the third. What that's his best philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's him depressed because, cancer kills in threes, and if Burt Young
thinks-
died during that hit, that means
Yeah.
it's going to skip over him and get Junior.
Exactly.
And
It
so
makes perfect
it's
sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, of course. It makes perfect sense to Junior.
Yeah.
I mean, the other one of the other like great. I don't even know what episode this was really. Oh no, yeah, it's called Second Opinion, which is a good episode all around. That's where Carmela goes to see the shrink, who
Yeah.
just like says "fuck this shrink that shit." I'm just gonna
Yes.
tell you to leave your husband.
I think that's a
Or you're
wonderful
going to
scene.
hell.
Well,
I think the actor is the wrong guy. I think they chose the wrong dude. That half dead guy.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't even really want to talk about that part. I want to talk about the golf course scene. Is
Oh, well, that's
is so good there, where they're harassing the doctor. That great, little portrait there of a smarmy, douchey doctor.
Oh,
That's
the
actor.
great
What-
Sam McMurray. Oh
Yeah,
my God, that
Yeah.
guy, like, he's like a
80s films.
sitcom icon, Sam McMurray. I thought
Mhm.
I loved him as Dr. Kennedy. He was fantastic. But yeah, that scene with the there's a bee on your hat. That's that's such a great bit.
Well, I can't ever I don't think I've ever played golf again after that episode because I can't hear the word golf without just thinking a stupid fucking game.
Yeah, yeah, that's but I love the whole idea that he really just likes him because his name's Kennedy, because everybody from that generation just has such reverence for that
Well,
name.
his name's John Kennedy.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, what about that Jimmy Hoffa thing? That was the
And then
brother.
I also want Tony
Yeah.
needling him in the. Yeah, exactly. That. What about how they came after the mafia? He's like, yeah, that was the brother. But anyway, we got one more thing we got to talk about here that somehow
yes.
we've avoided this whole time, and that's Pine Barrens.
Oh yeah, man.
A lot of people, I think this would be a lot of people's choice for their favorite episode of Sopranos ever. I get that it's one of the most accessible ones. It doesn't have. Certainly got some of the anticlimax that would drive people up the wall about some stuff. People who just wanted more whackings, but it doesn't have any the brutality really that Employee of the Month of University ladles on you. And it's Sopranos by way of Tarantino. It's just a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah, it's. I mean, first off, I mean, again, I don't know this guy's name, but the guy that plays Valerie, man, that guy is so good. I mean, that just that. What's so great about this is that this is all Paulie's fault. So how many times,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
how many scenes in this series is it a gangster trying to collect money, and then the person either doesn't have the money or they don't have any of it, so of course they got to beat the guy up or they got to do something terrible. Well, this, they go into the guy's place. He's got the money. Yeah, it's right there on the entertainment station. There you go. It's all set. There's really no reason for anything. It's because Paulie just, I think, from watching too much Rocky Four, Red Dawn, Invasion USA, he just has this hatred for Russians that is really, there's no reason for him to feel this way. I mean, I don't, they never really explain it. He just, they're Russian, they must be evil, they're bad, and he's just gonna
He's a
start shit no
xenophobic
matter
prick.
what. Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
just gonna start shit no matter what, and he decides to channel that into see when he sees the universal remote, and then we're off to the races.
I think it's a Paulie's not the most tolerant sort generally. It's also established at some point in the series that he was in the army for at least a while, and
Yeah,
which would have probably been around the height of the Cold War.
yeah.
Um, so I don't have any trouble buying that he latched on to the hatred of the Ruskies and never reevaluated that position in the slightest, like post 1966.
But yeah, it's just, to
Paulie,
me, it's just funny that again, like everything, it could have been the easiest pickup of the entire series, and but it's just, it's all Paulie, and just the way that actor that plays Valerie is, just his demeanor is so good. He's just so laid back. I mean, because I mean, he basically knows that he can handle both these guys, or at least in his head, he believes so. And he's just some of the stuff that he says, just the universal remote, put it down on docking station, just stuff like that. I don't know. It's such a great first scene that kind of that really builds the whole episode.
This is a big episode too, in that, like, I think we've had glimpses of the inner asshole of Paulie. Well, that's especially this season with regards to Chris and the kick ups and all that. But up until this point, I had largely thought of him as comic relief. A
Yeah.
funny character that I liked. That is pretty much there to make me laugh and be hilarious, and he can apply pressure, but mostly, but that he's a loyal part of the team. And this is kind of where he becomes an irredeemable asshole, really, once and for all. Like, there's kind of no going back for Polly after this, and I think
you start
why
to see a
people,
little more of the Machiavellian side of
yeah,
him, which is
Well,
giving him a lot, maybe more credit than it deserves. But
it's
it's
sort of
it's sort of
implicit.
dumb
it's
Machiavelli, like
yeah, and it's
obvious Machiavelli
basically,
stuff.
it's after this that he kind of starts making motions to feeding the New York people more info and trying to snuggle up with them, and that I feel like that's immediately after this episode is when that starts to happen.
Yeah, and this is why Tony goes against him when in the Ralphie thing. It's because he fucked up in the Pine Barrens episode so much. It's he's a fuck up, and it's actually becoming a problem. And I think he kind of knows that on some level, and that's why he's deflecting this stuff onto Chris. It's why he's making such a complaint about Ralph and needing money for his mother, that he brought to the same senior center that Tony used for his mom.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's a retirement
yeah,
community.
like you can see him like kind of with the walls closing in on him a little, and he gets a bit more feral, and yeah, it starts playing against across the river, and this I think is why people thought he was going to get whacked, is because like, oh, he's becoming a problem.
Yeah.
He's
Oh yeah.
he's no longer just Polly the idiot. He's now a guy who's an idiot, and it's going to cost you and force a confrontation. So yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to get killed for sure after this at some point.
Yeah,
I
because
like that he
they
doesn't.
have that scene. I think it's in the finale. There's the scene between Paulie and Johnny where Johnny, it's all we find out later on it's all bullshit, but where he mentions, oh, Carmine asks about you, and he's got you in his thoughts, and so they kind of are setting it up right there that you're sort of to believe, oh, okay, well, Paulie's he's going to kind of flip and join New York, and I think that's why everybody really thought that he was going to not make it out of the fourth season alive.
Yeah, I mean that's you never quite buy that Polly would like flip to the feds.
No.
But
No.
but he could
Flip
flip
into
to
New
another
York.
crew that he feels is appreciating him more.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
But
a
that's stuff for the
proud
fourth
little
season.
hen. Yeah, he's
yeah.
a
Well, with in terms of Pine Barrens, I mean, I've seen a lot of funny stuff on television, but just the sight of him sucking down the relish packet is way up there. It's that is like, when people say that this show is also a comedy, like that's the first thing I think of, because I just die laughing every time I see that clip.
Tony
Oh yeah.
Sirico, the actor, plays Paulie. I feel like this was kind of where they realized that they could entrust him with a little more heavy lifting dramatically, because he was always like an extra in Goodfellas kind of guy, right? This is a guy you called if you were making a mob
Yeah.
movie and you
Yeah,
need somebody to say 3 lines, and this
He's
is
sort of
sort
the
of
Italian Danny Trejo that
yeah,
was.
That's definitely the thing with him, and this is kind of where they realized, oh, he can do more. He can we can put something other than than idiot lines in his mouth, and it'll
I mean,
play.
not too much more. Like
Oh,
he's
well,
never
they're idiot
shouldering.
lines.
Yeah, and he's never shouldering a full storyline the way, or like the way Christopher or Carmela might.
No,
Like
no.
his stuff is always either like a C plot or it's paired up with one of the main, like with Tony, basically, or Christopher, I suppose.
And he never stops being funny. Also, I mean, even,
Yeah.
well,
even when he's at his darkest, most resentful, he still can't
there's
help being funny.
I mean, aside from Pine Barrens, there's a lot of funny stuff earlier in the season in the one where Christopher gets made, and Paulie's basically just kind of torturing him the whole time. I mean, that's there's the infamous scene where he's kind of having his way with some of Adriana's delicates.
Yeah.
One thing that's another one. I mean, it's stretching into season 4 now, but talk about a great delayed punchline. There's an episode at the very beginning of season 4 where Christopher and Patsy start getting into a thing, and Christopher is using drugs too, so they're like getting held apart while they're screaming at each other, and he yells, "I'm like, don't forget, I've forgot about you sniffing my fiance's panties last year." And you just hear Patsy like off the screen, going, "That wasn't even me," because Patsy was along there while Polly did
Yeah.
that. Just a punchline that like it's not highlighted in any way. It does I doubt that they showed a panty sniffing scene on like the previously on before that episode.
No. Would have been
It's just
smart
such a
to
fully
do it.
realized world that they can do that.
Yeah.
How
And then
about
the other.
Patsy scene with? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no. Just one thing real quick. Just going back to Pine Barrens is obviously everything with Paulie and Christopher, but the stuff later on when Tony's seeking Bobby's help, and just the sight of Bobby and the whole hunter getup with the bright orange vest. I mean, that's just another one of my favorite parts from that episode.
Right?
Poor Bobby.
Where let me ask you this: where do you guys put Pine Barrens? Is it like in your top like 2 or 3 episodes?
No, it
Yes.
might be top
No.
10. Might be top 10
No.
for me.
It's top 3 for me. I love it. It's just got a little bit of everything that I love from the show, and it's like I said, it's the one that if I just need to throw one on just because I wanna see these actors do their thing, that's the one I'm putting on.
It's good. Like even the Tony in it, it's good stuff too. When he's trying to field their calls and navigate,
Yeah.
you know,
And he's
dinner
got
with
Gloria
Gloria
stuff
and
going on too.
yeah,
We
and
haven't.
with his father-in-law suddenly sick. Yeah, for me, it's like top 10, but it's around number 10, I think. And I'm surprised. Like it's the best episode of season 3 in my opinion, but I'm surprised how low I put it on like an overall listing. Um, which speaks to like how I feel about this whole season. It's very solid. Not my favorite. Of its highs are not as high for me as some of the other seasons.
I would have to agree with that, but I do think that I was talking about this a little earlier. I think it does kind of set up what the show is going forward in a really good way. I like that it's so quotidian. It's the day to day life. You have the Jackie Jr. plot, which I mean, obviously we haven't even talked about much here, is how low impact that is really. But mostly it's kind of just seeing these people go about their lives, and it's not especially driven narratively, but it's still really compelling. And and I think you needed a season like this to kind of establish a base level for the things that are going to come after it.
Yeah, I would say that even though it's kind of a lot of the Jackie Jr. stuff, it doesn't really, it's not the greatest stuff that they did. That heist sequence in the Amour Fu or the attempted heist of the card game. That is one of the better sequences that the show has ever done. I really love that's a tense moment.
Amor Fu is a really good episode.
Yeah.
That's that might be my favorite episode of the season. That or Pine Barrens. It's really great. And we didn't really talk about Gloria here. I really like Gloria too. That all is really good stuff.
Yeah.
There that moment when she says "poor you" in the middle of a fight is just so chilling. It's the most Freudian the show ever really got, but it so works. It's
that
really
light bulb, you see it go on
Yeah.
like in Gandolfini's head.
Yeah.
And us too. Like we understand exactly what the import of that is, because this is something we sort of talked about in the earlier episodes too. Like the genius of those therapy scenes is how they walk you through the subtext of things in an organic way, and so it makes you feel smart as a viewer.
Yeah.
Which I think is this neat trick that the show pulls, even as it has such a low opinion of humanity and its audience in some ways. Like we're kind of included in that, but it gets away with pushing our buttons so much because it makes us feel smart at the same time.
I feel like every HBO show, or a majority of HBO shows after this, are kind of chasing that exact quality.
Oh, they try.
Like, yeah, like Westworld. Westworld tries to do this sort of thing, kind of falls on its ass doing it, but like for years, they always kind of tried to operate on this level where they could reward smart viewers for paying attention, and nobody did it as effortlessly or as rewardingly as this show did.
Well, again, that's the genius of the therapy conceit, I think, because it allows an organic reason for a character within the show to hold our hand walking through. It's not that she's condescending to us, but she's dealing with kind of a dumb character that she has to walk through the basics of, Freud 101. And then we come out feeling like fucking geniuses who understand psychology without ever having taken a psych course in my life.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, I know like that I had said that I think one of our previous talks, but those are the scenes with Melfi. That's the stuff that's really gotten better when you watch it later on, because like I think I said before, watching it in my 20s, I'm like, okay, let's go back to the bada bing, let's go back to people getting their throat slit or shot in the head, but now when you see it, it's like, oh wow, this stuff actually really is damn good.
I am curious because I'm doing this rewatch kind of live here. I am curious going forward if there's how well Malfi is used from this point forward, because my memory is she kind of peaks in this season with Employee of the Month and Gloria Trillo, and there's not much left for the character to do after that. I'd love to be wrong about that. I don't really remember anything else that goes on with her. I know she's there for the rest of the run, but
I recall some good stuff in the 5th season. I'd say keep an eye peeled for unidentified black males.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean she she starts having some substance issues, and I like a lot of. She has more scenes with Peter Bogdanovich as it goes along, and I always kind of got a kick. Got a kick out of those. So yeah, I mean I think Employee of the Month is easily her standout episode, but I think there is still some interesting things with her as the show goes along.
Well, we're going to get into the 4th season next, which, in my opinion, a lot more uneven than this one. But man, the highs of that are some of my favorite of the whole series.
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh, looking forward to that.
We'll circle back to that. In the meantime, Chris, you want to play a round of character actor Guess Who?
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. We are going to do IMDb Guess Who. I am going to be essaying the role of a character actor. And Chris and John, you guys will ask me questions one at a time to try and narrow down who this person is.
All right.
So, my first IMDb credit is for the year of our Lord, 1986.
Okay.
Chris, why don't you go first?
Okay. So, give what are your credits for 1992?
1992. I was in a TV series called Material World, a film called Under Cover of Darkness,
Mm.
another TV series called The Hat Squad, Innocent Blood, Harmony Cats, another TV show called Scales of Justice, and one more TV show called Secret Service.
Oh boy.
Okay. I have no guess based on that.
The Hat Squad. That puts
I
me
know
in
the
mind
show.
of.
I
Was
know
that
the
a
show.
spin-off? Was that a spin-off of Mulholland
That's
Falls?
It's the same. It's before Mulholland Falls. It's the
Okay.
same basic idea, but it's set in modern day.
God!
It
Not
was
Mulholland Drive, Mulholland Falls.
right. It
Ooh.
was a Stephen J. Cannell production about three brothers in modern day who wear hats and fight crime in modern day Los Angeles.
Lame. Okay.
I did not think the Hat Squad would be where the focus would be on that year.
All right. I'm gonna guess. This guy gets better projects the farther we go along. Give me 2000.
I don't think you've even established whether I'm a man or a woman.
You're right.
Well, that's true.
Those seem like kind of guy-based shows. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know Material World. Let's say 2000.
I mean, television in 1992.
Right.
Not a terrible guess.
2004. What's this person's credits in 2004?
All right, 2004. We've got CSI, a movie called Unstoppable, and a movie called Bandido.
Shit. Does that ring bells for you, Chris?
I think
Bandido?
I have a guess. Have a guess because I do know the movie Unstoppable, and
well,
I mean,
it's John's turn, so you can ask one more question.
Oh.
I mean, if you want to ask before you make your guess.
That's fine.
Now this
Unless
is
John
far
wants to
too
take a stab.
early. This is far too early for the Denzel Washington Unstoppable.
Right.
So that's kind of getting in my way. I can't remember any other Unstoppable right now. So I don't know. I'm going to guess. Let's just throw something in the dark here. Ethan Suplee. Is it Ethan Suplee?
It is not Ethan
Okay.
Okay.
He
So
was in the other Unstoppable.
So let me give one guess. I mean, let me give a non-name guess and see if I'm on the right track. Does this individual have a credit in 1991 of The Last Boy Scout?
I mean, I assume this is just a flex because you're perfectly within your rights to just ask for every 1991 credit.
Oh, okay. I was just narrowing it down to The Last Boy Scout. If that is a credit in 1991 for this individual,
It is, in addition to the
Okay.
TV show Street Legal and the TV show Scene of the Crime.
Okay. This individual is a male with a traditionally female first name of Kim Coates.
Ding, ding, ding.
Wow.
You are,
Wow.
It was
that was
it was Unstoppable from when you said Unstoppable 2004. It's a crappy Wesley Snipes movie, but I know that I knew he was the heavy in it, so that's basically what got it for me.
Wow.
what did I tell you, John? That Chris is going to be unstoppable at this game.
Yeah, Chris, you are the Unstoppable one. It would seem. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't anywhere close on that. I was thinking, like, could it possibly? You had Last Boy Scout. I was like, could it be Noble Willingham? Could it be Taylor Negron? Could.
Well, when you said innocent,
wow.
when you said Innocent Blood, I was thinking, is it Don Rickles? But it's like, no, he was before 1986, so no, it's not Don Rickles.
Yes, just a hair before 1986.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Impressive, Chris. Okay.
Oh wow,
Okay,
I feel good
wanna,
now. After my my shoddy performance in the sequel game, I'm feeling pretty good now.
All right.
All right. Do one more.
Yeah, give
Yes,
me
for
one here. I
sure. Yeah.
gotta match this. I want to see if I can
Well,
catch this up. Okay.
Okay. I have to give me a second. I have to put on my new persona here. All right.
maybe you'll
My
get
new self.
someone that appeared in the Hellraiser franchise.
Ah.
Oh, yeah, that's how I should try and feed John a win here. All right. My first IMDb credit is in the year of our Lord, 1990.
Okay.
Okay. What were the projects in 1990? What were the first year?
Just a TV series called The Ruth Bendel Mysteries.
Ooh.
Ruth Rendell. Sorry.
Okay. Shot in the Dark. Parker Posey.
Well, it's a good guess.
Negative. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay.
It's a good shot in the dark, though. Okay, so what would be the credits for 1997?
1997, we've got two films, one called Mrs. Dalloway, and one you've probably seen called The Devil's Own.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll throw out. I mean, this it's not going to be this person, but well, yeah. Why even guess? I was going to say Treat Williams, but I know it's not Treat Williams, so that's okay. That's my bad guess. Is Treat Williams? He's way before
Okay.
1990.
It's not Treat Williams. Although
Yes.
you're acting like that's such a bad guess. He's definitely on my list.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think Ethan Suplee was too, John, if it makes you feel better.
Let's take 1999 credits. I got a feeling here.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. There is no credits in 1999.
Ooh.
Okay, my feeling was off. All right, that's fine.
Indeed.
I no guess. I have no guess.
Give me the credits for 2002.
2002. All right, that's a much more productive year for me.
Oh, hallelujah.
I was in Solaris, City of Ghosts, Fear.com, Laurel Canyon, and Killing Me Softly.
Man.
Killing Me Softly, not to be confused with Killing Them Softly, the Brad Pitt New Orleans crime drama.
And did you say City of Angels?
City of Ghosts.
City of Ghosts. Okay, well, I'm almost sure that this would be of the fairer sex.
No comment.
Because nothing's really popping for me. But since you said Fear.com, I'll just, I'll go ahead and just say Stephen Ray.
Negative, sir.
Yeah.
Have you seen Fear.com?
I never did. No. I think
I saw Fear.com.
Yeah.
I saw Fear.com in theaters.
Oh, okay. Maybe John's zeroing in on this one.
I wish. I couldn't tell you who. I mean, Fear.com has Jeffrey Combs is in there, and a lot of those kind of charactery, like horror people are in that one. So let's see. 2006. No, I know what I want. 1997 is what I want.
Well, I think I did 97.
Did we already do 97?
You did 97.
I
98.
That was The
I want
Devil's Own
98.
and Mrs. Dalloway.
Give me 98.
Okay, 98. That was
the hot zone,
a pretty good year for me.
Yeah.
I was in something called What Rats Won't Do.
Great
Don't know what that is. But I was also in The Truman Show. And a flick I know you're familiar with called Ronin.
Oh, well, I got it. It's just, if I can remember the name. Natasha McElhone?
There you go.
Is it
Natasha McElhone. Yes.
Very
that is
good.
Precisely
Wow.
what I am.
All right.
Nice job.
Cool.
Excellent.
All right. Well, can we do one more? We got to do a tiebreaker, right?
Yeah, come on. Let's go.
We got to do a tiebreaker. Okay.
What happened to Natasha
right.
McElhone? She was great.
She was good in Ronin.
And kind of Ronin and Truman Show is like, those are the two big ones, really.
Well, and Braveheart, right? Wasn't she?
She's not in
Was she in Braveheart?
I don't think so. No. That's
okay. I confused her with Catherine McCormick.
McCormick, and there's Sophie Marceau in that one.
Yeah.
She is going to be a regular on the Halo TV series that is in production right now.
Huh.
Well, all right.
Well, good for her.
She was on Designated Survivor, that Kiefer Sutherland show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she was one of the leads on Californication.
I hated that show.
Into that. Yeah, me too.
That show sucked.
But I don't recall her being the problem with it.
No.
All right, Chris, you know what? I've got a list here of 300 names. Why don't you just pick a number? And I'll,
Okay. Let's go with 84.
84, okay. Alrighty. I am getting into character currently.
Francis Sternhagen.
No, not that one. Not this time. But of course, if you want to take a stab in the dark, you're also welcome to go, John.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go Richard Farnsworth, her Misery co-star.
No Richard Farnsworth.
But those are two good shot in the dark guesses, I think.
Yeah,
those are good guesses. I might add them to the list. All right, my first credit on the Internet Movie Database is in the year of our Lord 1984.
All right. Okay. So I believe I'm going first, right? So okay,
Yeah.
Let's go. What are the credits for this individual in good old tried and true 1992?
1992. Oh, that is a good place to start, sir. Very prolific year for me. I was on a TV series called Laurie Hill. I was in a TV movie called The Heart of Justice. I was in another TV movie called Stormy Weather. Another TV series called Civil Wars. And finally, a little motion picture called Wayne's World.
Okay, so a character actor that would have been in Wayne's World. So I am going to guess that you are Kurt Fuller.
God damn it! He got it in one.
Wow! Wow!
I mean, because he's like the most. There's basically kind of two.
He's right in the pocket of this game we're playing. I agree, but I would have bet $1,000 that you would have jumped at Brian Doyle Murray.
I was thinking Laura Flynn Boyle. Okay.
I was basically down to, because when I think of like character actors in Wayne's World, I'm thinking Kurt Fuller or the guy that was the cop Frederick Coffin, who was also in Hard to Kill. Those are kind of the two people that came up to me based on Wayne's World. So hey, there you go, Kurt Fuller. If I'd have guessed 89, you would have said No Holds Barred.
Indeed, I would. I thought maybe Lee Turgison would have been on the list there.
See, I always forget that. I always forget that he's in the Wayne's World, but you're right, he is in that.
Yeah, I just thought Brian Doyle Murray would be like catnip.
I think the thing is
Chris.
because
how is he going to avoid that?
I think the reason I didn't go with him was because the other credits didn't really sound too comedic. Like I always just kind of figure, like I figure around that time. I don't know if it was 92, but I know he was on Get a Life around that time. So there was no other real comedies that were in that description. So I went with the Fuller man.
Kurt Fuller in one guess.
You won this one.
He was the original program director for on News Radio. He's the one who leaves, and Dave Foley takes the job.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
I think like this game, I swear, would work with normal people. I think it might be broken with Chris involved.
Well, hey, it was a 2-1. I really had no clue on the second one. Not once you said Ronan, I knew who it was, but I couldn't really think of her name. So hey, I'm infallible or fallible,
or the other,
depending on what day. I'm very impressed with that Kurt Fuller shot, man. That was great. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is like NFL overtime rules. Like, just John doesn't even get the ball back.
No, I don't want it after that. I got demoralized.
Hey, it's comeuppance for Hellraiser.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll reconvene soon, I'm sure.
Yes,
Thank
definitely.
you, Chris.
All right, you guys take
Talk
it
to you
easy.
guys later.
See you later. Bye bye.